Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Play Heads Will Roll Reforged, episode number 5. Yeah, so here we are back. It's been a long time since my last recording. I don't have any opportunity to kind of like play the game, to get, brush away any rust. Not like this is a real like Twitch shooter or anything like that where it'd be a little bit more relevant. Anyway, we're faced here with what I assume is the decision to go to England or not. And it's been very cool to see that the overwhelming majority of people, in fact I think 100% even, suggested I go to England. Also, there's another comment that we should be reading more. So I like to push... Okay, wait a second. This is not the decision to go to England, no. This is the decision about whether to share your money with some of the soldiers. Which I'm also fine to have accepted. Only losing 100 florins for me is fine. But that now leaves us as a question about whether... Oh my god, we're... Well, I think you need a reputation of 80 to go there, and what do we have? We have very little time left, so we're practically at the point of this decision, but we're not there yet. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get there. Are there any quests or anything I can do for the Earl? We have nothing to talk to. What kind of quest do we have? So we have something for Cecilia, which won't matter at all. In fact, we already maxed out our relationship with her, so that's kind of irrelevant. I think she might actually give you something if you do this, like another... Is it a stamina recovery ring? Useful hobby. Yeah, that's... maybe this one gives you some Earl reputation if you're able to finish it. And a bag. And a bag. A normal bag. Okay, so what the things we're going to want to look for the sergeant are... Because I believe we don't have any leather left. I mean, we have some good items, yeah. So we got Cecilia's reputation maxed, I see, by the Plague Mask. We have to go over to Ava. I almost titled the last playthrough something about the last video, something about Ava being the chosen one or something. It was a clever title, I swear. We'll just pretend. But yeah, I think that she's to me, the most, like, not physically attractive, but the most attractive option. She may also be the physical. I'm just ignoring that part because these are cartoon drawings, but anyway, what was I doing here? I was looking for leather, and we have none. We have one. And I don't think that we have any way of getting... So we can make leather boots with, oh my gosh, 6 leather or 5 leather. Well, those options are just completely impossible. We could go travel and do scavenging, but we can't. Oh, we have Eva's option. There's no limit to my gratitude. Now, did I not already go through all this in the first playthrough? Again, this is going to be hard for me. I've been through this maybe 10 plus times myself. I no longer remember what happened exactly, specifically in the last playthrough. But this must have been something we did last time too, right? Since my childhood, my father instilled the idea that dying for your country is the highest honor in my mind, and these words became for me the truth equal to the scripture, the Holy Scripture. That night, lying in the tent with your sword at his throat, he was ready to do just that, to die as his concept of honor requires, and finally find the death that he had been looking for so many years. If you had killed him, my life would have ended too. I would spend the rest of my short days trying to seek vengeance and would willingly throw myself at the sword of the first English soldier I saw. I mean, I guess that would be us, by the way. We were there, an English soldier, and she saw us, so... And she kind of mentioned that in the tent too, right? You'll have to kill me. But what you did... You didn't just let my father live, you have proven that it is not all about killing and dying for your country. You have broken this vicious and endless cycle of death where every drop of blood spilled serves as a seal of guarantee that more and more blood will flow, and so on without an end. Now, this is interesting, by the way. I want to kind of point out something. This is a side tangent, completely Tortuga's own opinion. The Russian developer is Russian, and I can't escape pondering whether or not any of this is related to or influenced by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So there's that war going on. And it's a person living in that society that, yeah, I don't know what impact is felt by the average person, but if there's an impact, maybe we're reading something, and I might be reading something where there's nothing to be read, but it's just something I wanted to mention. Until no one is left alive, you showed me that there is another way, and it will lead you, no, all of us, to the light. Okay, she takes off a ring. Now this ring is not very good. You take this. I want to have it as a reminder of the hard choice you found the strength to make. And as something to remember me by. Yeah, so this ring is not that great. But there is something else. Okay, and I think there's a scene here which we're just going to skip, so... Alright, the redstone ring gives +1 health per turn. Is that worth it? I think we'll end up selling it, unfortunately, because, I mean, it's unfortunate that, you know, you get to her endgame and this is what you get. It's worse than her oath. It's far worse than her oath, in my opinion. If for somebody like us, I think we have like 70, and we can't go back there either. Yeah, so there's no way. I don't see how we're going to be able to pick up a sheath. But going back over to this ring, we're a character with 77 health, which means it takes 77 rounds for us to get at 1 hit point per turn. What does this do? I guess you can kind of think of it as reducing bleeds by 1, or bleeds 2 and poisons 3, reducing a poison by 1/3. I don't know, it's just, it doesn't seem very good. Health is usually not what enables you to win a fight. Normally it's, you know, are you going to hit or not? And very few fights come down to this actually balanced fight where health actually matters. I feel like most fights health does not matter. And, you know, you win not by investing more in health, you win by investing more in combat skills. Alright, that's probably obvious to everyone, so probably didn't need to harp on that too much. Nonetheless, let's go over to the trade screen. I think that we'll look for a sheath here. We see a commoner's belt, which, I mean, we're almost there, right? I often find the sergeant's sheaths here, and those don't count as, I think we already tried. But I'm not even sure a normal sheath will appear because we may have too high prestige or level. I'm not sure how the shop exactly is populated. But I know that we do want to get rid of some items, so we'll get rid of the Valkyrian. Knightly Sword, an agility-based one's pretty cool. It has this counter-strike ability. If you went really hard into the agility, then I think that this is... I mean, it might be worth it because they will miss you more often. And then you can counter-strike them. Or even with the feint. But we'll get rid of it for now. Old Halberd served us well last time. Get rid of it. Yeah, and then we're left with a few options here. Now this redstone ring, I mean, unfortunately, I don't really see any use for it, so I'm just going to sell it immediately. And then the leather boots. Now that's one set of leather boots. Let's go ahead and deliver those. What's our character at right now? Probably 100 for soldiers, not quite. And virtue's completely maxed out, even with the negative trinket. I do have to say, I do wish that virtue went over 100. Oh gosh, don't start again, Tortuga. Just go to the sergeant, deliver the items. Okay, good. And let's go to the equipment. Alright. Now, you can get a tower shield from these guys, which is what I was hoping to get. But we got here a heater shield. We'll probably just sell that. Unfortunately, it's not that useful. And we already gave our boots up, I guess. I did that almost subconsciously, didn't think about it. But that shield is also not one that we're going to want to keep. So I'll probably... Yeah, so to me, 45-45 for very few stat decrease is basically the same as 55-55 with much worse stat decreases. So yeah, we'll just sell that one. I think what we're going to do is just rely on the fact... I'm really sad. You know what, this could be just a way we speed through this run. Let's see if we can get Earl of Northampton up to 80. I think that's the minimum. If not, look at... Wow. We'll just end up going and we'll kill Ruffin another way. Yeah, and it was mentioned... So the two overwhelming things I would take away from the comments was... go to England, but also read more. Read more of the dialogue. So I'll try to do both those things. We also are up to 100 prestige, so using the flagrum right now, with the very little time that we have left with Cecilia, will be useful. 10% chance that we increase our stats as well, so that's very good. Alright, let's go train. Strength. Agility. Endurance? Coordination we definitely could, but I don't want to do that one. Let's train one more time first. Let's do another in agility. Okay. Mortify. Lost some blood. That's perfect. Just immediately go back, resolve that. Maybe train one more time. And mortify. Okay. We got vitality down instead of anything good. Anyway, we'll resolve those at least. And very little amount of unrest left. I guess we can just go to trade. Is there anything else I need to do? I could do open bassinet plus Aventail for a better helmet. But I think there are better helmets we can combine with the Aventail as well. Although, even the kettle helm that we have right now, yeah, it doesn't have it. 15. So it's just better. What are you going to do with your money otherwise? Let's try it. Let's do this and let's combine them. We need a little bit of time left, which it looks like we have. So one last foray into crafting. And this will give us a little bit more inventory space since we'll... no, actually it's the exact same because we bought an extra item just to merge them together. Okay, off with you. We'll go with worker's gloves, utility knife, crafting, craft armor, Aventail, open bassinet. Yeah, this is pretty good. Only coordination penalty of 1. Gives us 18 armor at 98 coverage, 6 armor and 50 net coverage. It's pretty good. And not to mention, it's also we're actually able to sell it for more than we bought the individual items for. Now that's another thing I didn't point out or do, is that there's technically a quest line from the Blacksmith. You got work for me, I'd be ready to help out, I need some money. I've always got work. And he insults us a little bit. I'm gonna skip through that dialogue, it's not really story relevant. But he basically asks us to make some armor, to combine some armor, or I mean I think you can even buy armor like this. Torso armor of 10, coverage of 90. Limbs armor of 6, coverage of 30. And then prestige not lower than 7. Now with our current stats, and especially with the extra plus craftsmanship that we have from our trinkets, this is very hard not to get when you combine like mail with anything. So we could try to do that. So we're wearing mail right now. Again, the only downside is that the armor custom armor I find gets broken so quickly. But we can go back to trade. A hauberk. Okay, hauberk will satisfy this. But we need something to combine it with. Gambeson, okay. Well, which one's cheaper? Mail is cheaper. Let's go with that. 50. We'll just buy both of these. We'll combine them. By the way, I don't see any other sheaths, right? I mean, we have the Sergeant Scabbard there. Again, I think that the common belt and the Sergeant Scabbard occupy the same slot. I think. And no leather to be seen, but we need a ton of it to get that stuff anyway. And anything that I wanted to sell. So combine these. Still not sure exactly what I'm going to want to sell. So we'll leave everything else. Alright, go back to crafting. Craft armor. We're all ready to go. Craft this and that. And, you know, this is really good too. 15, 100, 10, 58. So we're more than going to satisfy this. Technically, the price of this thing is... Drum roll. I mean, it said it right there, but I'm going back to the inventory. 260, but I think when we actually deliver it to the blacksmith, he gives us 50 on top of that or something. Yeah, okay. Okay, it's good. By the way, I have interesting stuff. So we can take another order, or we can even buy equipment. Can you get a sheath here? And you can get some pretty good stuff, and actually the blacksmith's hammer is probably worth buying for the craftsman. It's better than one of the two things we already have, so let's just buy it. But anything else we want here? I don't think so. I like the mail gauntlets, 635. There's a better set of gauntlets that we'll get eventually, and they are better as well than these. Do I have anything for my neck right now? I don't. Some light armor there just to increase coverage would not be bad. This is only 1 endurance penalty. I do really often find myself getting this one. It's so cheap, and although it's only 5 armor, that stacks with whatever else you're using. So does the coverage. 7 and 3 for the additional coordination penalty. I feel like no, we don't really want that. And again, your neck is almost never going to be hit. I mean, it's almost like game over if your neck is hit anyway. So let's just buy this and equip it. In some sense, it might even have been better for me not to equip anything, so I have an extra slot if we recover any neck armor. That's probably a little too min-maxy. Blade Sabatons, I don't really like these. They just prevent the knockdown effect, reduce 50% stamina loss and fatigue caused by enemy shield bashes. But look at that. Agility, endurance, coordination, -1. That's the opposite direction of where I want my trinkets to take me. Although I guess in theory, if this, if you put that on and it makes you able to train up a little higher, it would be worth it. I've never tried that though. Anyway, we could take another order. I don't remember what this order is. Let's find out. And honestly, I mean, can't really satisfy anything else anyway, but... Okay, so we want a head armor, which is not lower than 14, and cover, which is not lower than 70. Funny that he asks about that, because we just crafted that exact thing, did we not? We haven't yet put it on. I could just give this away. And then buy another one? Craft another one? The time thing is the real constraint I'm looking at here. We're sitting on 0, and I don't know what exactly that means. How much clicking around and crafting we can do before everything goes away. Let's just do it. Let's trade this away. Our head, for the upcoming fights, will be fine. So I'm not worried about that. Oh, sorry, wrong person. We'll let him have this one. 360, my goodness, that's quite a lot. I'll take it. Can we buy any... yeah, an Aventail. We can get... I think we already have one in stock, too. Might as well buy this. And we need a helmet from any other helmet. And then we can craft it, you know, assuming that we have enough time. So Aventail, Gambeson and Fald, we can use that. That's pretty good. We have this one already. I forgot if I'm even wearing armor, if I use my mail. No, I think we bought new stuff. So, yeah, that's another thing. I should be swapping the Blacksmith's hammer for... Which one are you? 2 and 1, 3. Yeah, so we can probably sell the utility knife. At least for now, we can swap out the utility knife since I don't want to lose the virtue. Again, it's just a... kind of have to accept that we've lost a trinket slot for forever. With donning that. And maybe in a future playthrough I'll avoid using that just so we have more flexibility with the trinkets, swapping them in and out. But I get this would also be just fine. I hate to say it, but if they just remove the virtue cap of 100, where it actually penalizes you for increasing your virtue beyond that. Okay, well, let's go to the trade screen, see what we got. The Messenger! Somebody asked why I chose the Messenger. I think that this one's better at shooting armor, and I think that for the DeRoche kill, I think that you want a faster maximum projectile speed. You want fastest speed for accuracy. This is purely my read on the situation. That I think that this is the best for that particular case. A normal crossbow seems to work fine. Like, otherwise, yeah. You don't want to use a crank one, though, because those... Such low damage and armor pen, all that. Anyway, what was I looking for here? A helmet, and I think we got a hauberk, which I'm not going to do. Aventail, which I won't get. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Let's just go ahead and... we're done. Okay, good. So into the last thing, let's get my character set up the way I want. Actually, let's put everything in the chest. We have 5 free spots. We should make use of those. There's so many trinkets. Leather goes in there. We'll put 1 water skin away as well. We have 12 inventory spots though. It's not like we really need it. The loot. Well, the flagrum definitely won't be useful, so we'll put that back for now. And am I going to use the heavy battle axe? You know, I might. If they split my shield, there's no reason for me not to use it. So let's keep it. Inventory, we're at 9 out of 9. We got coagulant, canteen, water skin, antidote. Canteen, water skin, antidote, wine bottle. Well, let's keep the other wine bottle. Let's put the 4-leaf clover back. I don't think that that's going to be useful for us. I don't remember if there's any luck checks, but I'm not going to equip it anyway. So we'll go with this setup. Okay, failing to kill William de Roche puts an end to any hopes of defeating the French with a decisive military action. Over the next week, several English lords, unwilling to admit the unfavorable outcome of the war, test the French's strength in the way of multiple skirmishes near Cambray's walls. None of them were of any real significance though, and there was no serious success for either side. As de Roche gradually recovers and regains control of the army with each passing day, the French troops become more and more militant, proving the seriousness of their intent and forcing Edward to speed up negotiations. A formal truce was concluded there shortly thereafter, ceasing active fighting. The siege had not yet been uplifted, really, but high-ranking English commanders and knights, as well as their retinues, were allowed to move freely through the town gates, in and out. While the patrols were still there and arms were still kept at the ready, it was clear to everyone that a full-fledged peace treaty was around the corner. As per tradition, a peace treaty ending hostilities between the two kingdoms is followed by a joint hunt, attended by both kings. This time the hunting grounds were chosen to be the forest west of Cambrai, an area owned by the de Lambert family. Among the 50 noblemen on both sides who were to accompany the two sovereigns, naturally there was the Earl, who decided to take you along as bodyguard. The royal hunt looked surprisingly just like a regular one, reminding you of the times your father would take you along on them. The only difference is that you and your father had never decided the fate of an entire continent while stalking a boar. Also, ale and wine did not flow like a river, exactly. You were enlisted as a guard, but this duty feels like you are a hodman so far, as you accompany the Earl, who keeps his retinue somewhat at a distance from the kings and their retinues. All you do is bring bottles full of wine in return for the empty ones, and reload crossbows. In the constant commotion around you, you keep spotting familiar faces among the noblemen covered in silk and gold. Just ahead is the prince, who is accompanied by the kings. The kings, it looks like, are more thrilled by the hunt than the tiny legal details of the peace agreement. The Earl interchanges remarks with de Roche, who barely escaped death, recalling the war in Scotland. From the sound of it, they managed to scar each other more times than one. Thomas Marshall, who had been defeated by de Roche, has been set free and now laughs loudly over something with the French commander of Cambrai, who had been taken captive during the last assault and also granted freedom. Well, you can imagine they're laughing about both being prisoners. Count Sunderland, the hand-to-hand fighting enthusiast, is exchanging whispers with Count Canterbury, the leader of the mercenaries, assembled for this campaign from every corner of Europe. Just behind Lord Sunderland is Fulton Everley, whose hide you tanned just recently. Looking around, you can take this for anything but a peace negotiation conferred by the leaders of two armies that just tried so hard to erase each other. At the third hour, you start being pretty wary of gimme this, gimme that kind of requests. Every now and then you take a few good sips from the bottles and you bring to your superiors, gradually losing focus and having difficulty understanding who is where. A loud outcry jerks you out of this languid state. Turning your head in search of the source of this noise, you're surprised to see people around you beginning to fall to the ground one by one, wheezing. Still, gathering your wits, you stumble over a huge body that has just collapsed to the ground in front of you. As you rise from the fall, you recognize it as Fulton Everley. His face is covered with blood, and there is a crossbow bolt sticking out of his throat. Sobered by this unexpected sight, you jump to your feet, just to find yourself in the middle of mayhem. Around you is the most confusing fight you have ever witnessed. Only with great difficulty can you tell apart likely allies from likely foes. Both Earl Northampton and Prince Edward are nowhere to be seen, and the sole face familiar to you belongs to Count Canterbury, who, surrounded by a bunch of his men, is fighting with the bodyguards of the French king. Having finally distinguished friends from foes, you immediately join the battle. Okay. Double check real fast that our trinkets are set up. Oh my god! They are not. Could have just swapped those out. Those would have been great back in the chest, but we at least filled the chest, so we have the same inventory space, whether or not it's irrelevant we carry these two versus whatever I put back there, leather, and other trinket. It's fine. 15 inventory space should be sufficient for us. Okay, so who do we have here? We have a French man-at-arms. Skills are relatively low. I don't think we'll have much of a problem with him. It's been so long since I've fought. What do we want to do? Don't want to... Oh, is he... Oh, great axe. Okay, it looks like he's using my axe, but a great axe is still pretty scary. Neck armor is 15. Helmet armor is only 5. Well, that makes this guy relatively easy. Yep, 2 of those will do him in. Oh! Heavens. We did bring the medicine along with us. Now we have a coagulant as well. In my opinion, feels a little bit early to be using it. Does the wine also reduce? Lowers duration of bleeding and light poisoning by 1. Yeah, let's use this. Do we want to use it? Yeah, let's use it. Okay, good. I think that's going to be sufficient, and we'll use the medicine when we're out of battle here. I suspect that that's because we were on offensive mode. Seems like we're getting pretty unlucky here. We'll just do a recovery, though. Let's try this again. Oh, his limbs are open. I guess we could just take them off. Okay, +1 reputation for the Earl. How many of these guys do we need to kill to get enough reputation? Split his shield. Not even sure. Wow, these guys are landing all their feints. He had a heater shield. Okay. Well, let's do some respiting. Recover first, perhaps. Respite. Get this down. Oh, we need more. Respite. There we go. Now we can recover. He's already a goner. Got his health. Yeah, I don't think he'll get his stamina back up high enough to matter. I'm going to get mine up a little bit higher. But again, we want to make sure we kill enough people. We probably can't kill enough people to make a difference with the Earl, but, you know, okay, we might as well try, right? 12, round 12. What's this guy's armor looking like? Again, 5 for helmet, so probably that's the way we go. Don't want him to hit us because it's poisoned. No limb armor either. I still think we'll probably be better off doing this. Yeah, that's 2 hits that are going to kill him. So, respite. And he's a goner. If we do now, let's respite one more time. I don't know if we need... Yeah, I think we do need an overhead strike. So... Give me another. The situation on the battlefield is changing. Yeah, we'll loot the bodies. An Italian bassinet. This looks like a better option to add with the Aventail. A Fald, which is, oh, awesome. So awesome. Love picking those up. Okay, well, let's go to our character screen so we can take this medicine. It's what it's there for. It's so easy to use. Just heal. And it frees up an inventory space conveniently enough as well. And what else? Yeah, no, I mean, better chainmail armor, better chest armor would have helped us there too. And I think somebody else was asking me to just use the good armor. I think I gave it away, otherwise I would just put it on right now. I still think that the chainmail might be better than the Fald by itself. Is that true though? What's our limb coverage right now? Our limb's armor is 20. You know what? It probably isn't. We're at 13 and 80. Yeah, okay, so this is, it's just the toss-up between 70 and 85 for coverage. Now, I don't know what happens when you have a damaged fault and you combine it. Is that something that is taken into consideration? I really don't know. But anyway, let's try this. This is, if we get hit at all, 70% chance that we will take it on the chest, in the armor. And that's gotta be too high of armor to be penetrated. I already like the fact that this guy is using, he's using war hacks just like me. We're, using different war axes, I guess, because his looks all fancy. For an esquire? Okay. Neck armor of 11, limb armor of 0, so I think we're just going to end up hacking this guy in the limbs to death. First things first, though, look we could, and we probably even should be starting off with shield bashes, but I think we can split his shield just fine. We can even do that from the defensive stance. But let me do, I think he might do a feint, so let's do the split shield from a neutral. Good lord, and he did his feint. No wound shield, so he has 6 left. At this point, with only 6, it's actually better for us to just do an attack directly. It'll break through his shield if he blocks with it. Yeah, might as well do a limb strike. Shield broken, still do 36 damage. That's a ton. So now we can maybe recover once and do a couple of respites. No chance for him at this point. There's no chance. I'll take that lower stamina though. Let's see if he does an attack. Good. Lowers his... Wow, yeah, he's going to be very easy to hit now. Should be game over. Do I need to... I think I need to, right? This is 36 damage, which means we'll do less than, 18? I don't think it's enough, so we'll do the overhead strike. More reputation with the Earl. Nope, that's it. In a bloody battle, Count Canterbury's men, with your assistance, managed to kill the French warriors. Okay, we'll loot the one guy we killed. Chaotic fight in the forest quiets down just as suddenly as it broke out. Just a few moments ago, you were in the thick of battle, exchanging furious blows with enemies, and now, just like that, everything was silent. Looking for any kind of familiar face, you awkwardly wander back and forth, tripping over tree roots and dead bodies. After a while, you stumble upon a large group of men who are encircling a body lying on the ground. In one of the figures, you recognize Prince Edward standing a little further away from everyone, with a bloodied sword in his hand and a devastated gaze. He doesn't look like himself at all. That's because he isn't himself. In another figure, sitting beside the dead body, whose face is still obscure, you recognize Northampton. Surrounding them are knights and lords, some of whom are still breathing heavy, I guess, and with blood pouring down their weapons. Still having no idea what is going on and not daring to break the silence of the nobles, you freeze, patiently awaiting. Luckily, you don't have to wait long, as the silence is interrupted by the Earl. Standing up and turning to the prince, he raises his sword into the air and loudly says, as we can guess, "The king is dead, long live the king." After a moment's hesitation, the crowd surrounding them follows his example, and their shouts echo through the area. With nobody bothering to explain anything to you, an opportunity to get a full picture of what exactly has happened during the hunt appears only a while later. From rumors, contradictory eyewitness accounts, and scraps of overheard conversations. As it turns out, the peace talks were nothing but a ruse of the French, who came up with an unthinkable villainy, an attempt to assassinate the English king, as well as all of his most loyal lords. Spiking the wine with some kind of poisonous brew, they intended to incapacitate the king's entourage, leaving them defenseless. But by some miracle, their poison hadn't worked. That left them with no choice other than just draw their swords and try to take the king's life with steel. What happened afterwards didn't really require an explanation, as you've witnessed everything yourself. The king was killed in battle, but the prince, as well as the rest of the English lords, survived, rendering the enemy plan only partially successful. And yet, as it turns out, the death of the king was enough to sow the seeds of discord in the English camp. Now the whole army found itself pretty much split into two parts, with some of the lords, primarily Canterbury and Sunderland, insisting on the continuation of the war, while others, led by Northampton and Prince Edward, insisting on suing for peace. From a first glance, their stance might seem cowardly, but according to Earl Northampton himself, things were not as easy as they seem. In his own words, the desire to seek peace with the French came not from cowardice or excess in friendliness, but rather from the fact that in this particular case, the French were not the real enemy of the English crown, with a number of clues pointing not at French soldiers, but at Count Canterbury's mercenaries as the real killers of the king. That's why I think it's interesting that we found Count Canterbury's mercenaries attacking the French king. I mean, I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a clue here that I'm looking at, but we saw them attacking the French king. Does that mean that they had already killed the other king? Is it possible for them to have been in both places once? Because the subtext here, I think, is the author basically telling us, yes, it's Count Canterbury, but since we were next to their mercenaries during the fight, we have a little bit more information than this story is telling us. These accusations were also reinforced by Desroches, who's honorable, by the way, who once again somehow managed to emerge unscathed from the chaotic battle in the forest, and almost immediately afterwards had several private meetings with Northampton and Prince Edward. In charge of all the royal mercenaries, Count Canterbury oversaw the vast finances that the crown spent on paying for their military services. On top of that, occupying one of the key positions in the army, had the right to a substantial part of any and all war spoils. Thus, even a peasant could make a pretty logical conclusion that the timely death of the king, who was about to make peace with the French, indeed benefited Canterbury much more than anyone else. After several days of intense thinking, filled to the brink with countless meetings with various nobles and exchanging numerous messengers with the French, the prince had finally come to a decision to make peace. A lot of nobles were displeased with such a turn of events, and yet, despite all the efforts from Count Canterbury and his supporters, the army did not mutiny. Exhausted by a long and rather unsuccessful campaign, the majority of soldiers and commanders were eager to return home, albeit without much war spoils. However, even though the bulk of the forces remained loyal to the prince, not everyone was willing to obey his orders. As soon as the decision to make peace with the French was announced, Count Canterbury, ignoring any and all subordination, abandoned the army and, accompanied by his retinue and some of the mercenaries, sailed back for England. Okay, well, I don't think we're going back with him. I think we've now merged with the previous dialogue. I'll read this one, maybe the next one, but then that's it, because I think we're back onto the course and probably going to end up as a French mercenary. Sensing danger, Prince Edward hastily concluded all his affairs on the continent, dismissing mercenaries and handing over what remains of the army to Thomas Marshal, whom he instructed to return the men home as soon as possible. After that, the prince, accompanied by his closest retinue and Earl Northampton, rushed back to England. With the king dead and Canterbury, Northampton, and Prince now gone, the discipline of what remained of the English... Ah, boy. Alright, well, I'll leave it here just in case you want to read it. Okay, wait. Is during this period you receive an invitation? Refuse. Okay. Many people responded enthusiastically, but were not one of them. Having joined the French campaign against your will, you were satisfied at least because you simply managed to survive the war. And now you dreamed of returning home to a quiet and peaceful life instead of getting involved in another dangerous enterprise. You decide to stay in Dunkirk and wait for the evacuation to your homeland. In the few months that this waiting takes, the already very modest supply lines are completely cut off. Soldiers are basically forced to obtain food for themselves by buying it from the locals with the money they earned during the campaign, poaching in the surrounding forests, or even looting. At first, the temptation to join looters or poachers is great for you as well. However, after a dozen or two soldiers who are engaged in such activities are caught and sent to a date with the executioner, such a desire somehow disappears on its own. Unwilling to repeat the fate of comrades executed for violating the law, many of soldiers sell off war booty and equipment just to be able to purchase food. Buy food for money? Hand over equipment? Starve? Yeah, we'll buy food for money. Let's eat well. You have enough money to pay for your food for the entire waiting period, completely avoid hunger, and maintain your health. In the end, the long wait is over, and you, among the last soldiers of the Royal Army, leave Dunkirk on a ship that is heading back to England. But along with the good news also comes an unpleasant notice. Due to the lack of space on board, none of the ordinary soldiers and militia are allowed to take chests with war booty with them to the ship. Oh no. Can we sell it? Oh, good. We have 10 spots. We have 3 spots left. Okay, forget the utility knife. We'll take the flag room. Yeah, look at this is completely fine for me. In fact, can we go to my inventory real fast? Do I not have... Like, the Gambeson doesn't need to make the trip. But if I put this... Strength... This one might give us an extra spot. We're at 1. It doesn't. What's our virtue at? I wish I knew. Well, this is still +5 strength. This is +3 strength. That's a lot of strength. So that's... We don't have any bags, so I guess that this is as much as we're going to be able to do as far as getting more strength for more storage capacity. We can also put this falcon in our sheath. Yeah, we're in great shape. So we have 2 spots remaining. I don't know. We also... Sorry, we can get everything because we can put... What do we use? A bottle of wine? Let's put a bottle of wine back in there. There we go. We took everything with us. Okay. You have to leave your chest behind. Empty. Among the last soldiers of the Royal Army, you leave Dunkirk on a ship that is headed back to England. During the voyage, many of your comrades suffer from seasickness, but you tolerate your stay on the ship well. On the way back, on the way the ship is becalmed, but after a few hours of waiting, the wind nevertheless rises again, and by the evening you manage to arrive safely in Dover. The creaking ship deck and the salt-smelling holds remain behind, and Dunkirk, Cambrai, and the royal camp tents are gradually turning into an increasingly distant memory. It's time to start a new page in your life. Are we a page? Since you have no relatives or acquaintances in Dover, you, despite the fatigue, intend to immediately go to your native Maidstone, which is about a day's journey from the south coast. However, one of the soldiers who returned with you from France and happened to be a local warns you against it. According to him, the surroundings of Dover have always had a bad reputation as a dangerous place for lone wayfarers, especially for those who risk traveling after sunset. Instead of going who knows where in the dark, he suggests that you join other soldiers and stop at some town tavern to celebrate your safe return from the war, spend the night in safety, and have a good rest, then set off at dawn. There is certain logic in his proposal, but the place where he suggests staying for the night does not inspire much confidence, to put it mildly. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, the choose your own adventure continues. I really don't have a thought about what to do here, but I see that we're 45 minutes into this video, which means I can just kick that can down the road to future Tortuga and call this video to a close here. Kind of interesting. I mean, I really don't know how anything is going to go from here on. I've definitely never seen this. I've never done this playthrough at all. So everything will be completely new for me. Mistakes will be made, and if we're lucky, we'll survive long enough to do something. Hopefully still meet Roger, or Ruffin, or people. I mean, it should still be dangerous, but we'll find that all out as the series continues. For now, thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.